Hey guys, it's your girl Tishay, and welcome to my channel. Yeah, without wasting much time, we'll delve straight into Baddies West. Welcome to LA. If you're new to my channel, please go ahead to smash the subscribe button as we're going to discuss hot topics. Okay, we're definitely going to delve into the major highlights of the episode. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so this episode definitely continued from the fight scene between Rolly and Stunner Girl, which of course led to Stunner Girl being removed from the sprinter. Now, the fight, had Rolly's wig snatched and also her nail broken. She had like a bleeding finger. And it was all chaos in the bus, and the separation was actually very necessary because it did seem like Stunner Girl, from the way she was screaming in the bus, it did seem like she was ready to go in, with anyone at all, right? Now, of course, a lot of girls in the bus had, their different opinions about Stunner Girl and the whole situation, but one particular opinion did catch my attention, which was, of course, Low London. Low London, during her testimonial, had a lot to say about, Natalie's. She just definitely questioned Natalie's, superiority, basically. She went on about, why Nali wasn't able to handle the girls or control them. That especially knowing that it was her show, that she was supposed to pull some boss moves and ask all the girls to like sit calm and all of that. Now, I did feel some type of way hearing that from somebody who had just only joined the show. I mean, a lot happened in the bus that could have been spoken on, but like for her mindset or for her perspective to have gone straight to, questioning Nali's leadership skills was just very, it didn't really sit right with me. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Alright, so the girls finally arrived at their LA mansion, and I must say the house was 100% given. If you ask me, my favorite part of the house was the front lawn because it was, extremely spacious, and it was just giving me this Bridgerton vibe. Okay, yeah. So the girls finally got into the mansion, and finally got paired up by Nali. Biggie was paired with Sean. Initially, although very much later, Nali kind of like swapped her with Tommy, which, if you ask me, I have my speculations about because, I mean, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But yeah, Razor was, paired with Low London. Rolly and Scotty were paired as well. Scotty didn't seem too happy about that pair. According to Scotty, she needed space. She didn't want to even be paired in the first place. And of course, Kat and Stunner got paired because, right from the whole boss situation, it did seem like Kat was, very much in Stunner's side, or on Stunner's side rather. So that was why Nali decided to go on ahead to pair both of them together, especially since most of the girls weren't really feeling Stunner, of course, except Razor, who was very indifferent about, or who felt indifferent about Stunner. After the whole pairing situation, Nali had kind of like asked Kat to meet up with Stunner to just basically check up on her. Of course, Stunner had not come in with the girls because after she was separated, the girls who were in the sprinter were the first set to arrive at the house, leaving Stunner behind. So Nali kind of like asked Kat to go check up on Stunner, although Kat had kind of like volunteered to do so. So now Kat had finally met up with Stunner, and they got to have like a chit chat about the whole situation. According to Stunner, she said that she didn't appreciate people threatening her, which was why she flared up. Now, when she said that, I was a little bit confused because last I checked, she was the one who threatened the girls in the bus. So when she actually said that she didn't appreciate being threatened, I did feel some type. I was actually really confused, to be honest. I was confused and trying to understand who at some point threatened her, because she was the only person that dished out threats amidst her verbal altercations with Biggie and Rolly. So yeah, it was, like I said, a brief chit chat, and Kat just basically let her know to just stay focused and push the BS aside, because she was actually there for a reason. Over to room checking. I must say I did feel a little bit disappointed at the whole, basically how the rooms were, how small the rooms were, especially in such a huge mansion. After seeing such a mansion, I was expecting that these rooms were going to be like very 100% amazing, right? If we are to compare, or if we are to go back to the previous Baddies seasons and look through the other rooms, in my opinion, were way better than the rooms in this mansion. So I was like, how is this such a beautiful mansion on the outside, but on the inside it's not really giving as much as the outside is giving, basically. Because the reason I say so is because these rooms were a bit too tight, and only had a small, the bed wasn't even a queen size bed. It was a very medium sized bed, right? And it was also disappointing because it did seem like Zeus didn't make proper reservations for these ladies, because I did see that in these rooms there was a side mattress on the floor. So it was really, really disappointing, if you ask me. And I felt really bad for the ladies that had to end up sleeping on the mattress on the floor. Now, before we move to the last scene of this episode, let's just talk about Nali and Biggie, the whole conversation that was had between Nali and Biggie. So after the girls had kind of located their rooms, Nali kind of called Biggie over, and when Biggie came, Nali basically told her that she wanted Biggie to be her right hand man, basically the person who was going to be in charge of the ladies and control them and all of that. When I heard this, I was a little bit shocked, because if you ask me, usually posts like that always go to the people who have been there, or who have been there the oldest. So I was expecting probably Rolly, or even her good friend Scotty, to be her right hand man, right? But that wasn't the case here, and it actually got me wondering as to why. A lot of speculations, right, I had as I tried, or as I pondered over why Nali chose Biggie as her right hand man. One of the reasons I could come up with was probably because Nali wasn't really friends with Rolly. One. Another reason was probably because she also wanted someone that she could control, and obviously Rolly is not the one. Rolly definitely is not the one that she can control. About Scotty, I see Scotty as someone that Nali can kind of control to some extent, or maybe a whole extent, but for some reason she didn't still pick Scotty. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section about this. Do you think that the reason why Nali chose Biggie is because Biggie was just the easiest beat for her? Now, going back to Nali switching Biggie's room, remember I kind of mentioned that initially Nali had kind of paired Biggie with Sean, but then during that conversation she had with Biggie in her room, she later updated Biggie that she was going to be sharing a room with Tommy instead. I had my own speculations too as to why that sudden change, because I did feel like probably she must have reached out to Sean and let her know of the living arrangements, and Sean didn't necessarily agree to it. So that was why she finally ended up having a change of heart as to switching Biggie's room. All right, so let's talk about the last episode, or the last scene of this episode rather. If you ask me, the most chaotic. And it has to do with the girls finally sitting down and trying to like have a conversation. Yeah, prior to the girls finally sitting down to have like a formal conversation after everyone had finally located their rooms, Sean kind of showed up, right? Before Sean's showing up, Sean, DJ Sky, and Tommy were the only three girls who were not present, or who did not join the sprinter with the rest of the girls, right? So it was very much later that Sean kind of showed up. And when Sean showed up, Nali kind of like tried to let her in on the displeasure from the rest of the girls about her lateness and nonchalant behavior towards the activities, right? The activities that the girls had planned to do, right? Now it did seem like Sean was not really feeling that whole being questioned by Nali and being spoken to on what she was doing wrong or what she had done wrong. And at the same time, he also did feel like Nali at the same time probably was reading that vibe from Sean, that she was not feeling that whole conversation, and was also trying to play safe, right? Because I did see some fake laughter here and there, some fake smiles here and there, and then some stern, kind of like mixed stern looks in between the conversations, so yeah, that's why I'm saying so. But yeah, the girls finally got to sit down. Now before they sat down, right, Nali had kind of asked Biggie to go fetch the rest of the girls, and whilst they were coming down, whilst Biggie or after Biggie had finally gathered the girls, and whilst they were finally coming down to like have a sit down and talk, discuss issues, Stunner Girl saw that as the right opportunity to want to run up on Biggie, right? Well, not much was shown on that scene. All I saw was a fight that almost broke out in the background, and the security guards immediately stepping in, and then I saw that it was between Biggie and of course Stunner Girl. And then also I saw Rolly also trying to get like a piece of the cake, right? But of course security had already taken Stunner to like a different side of the room. And after that whole situation was like neutralized, the girls finally got the opportunity to sit down and talk. Now things didn't really go as planned, because like I mentioned earlier, Sean is not the type to want to sit down and listen to you talk her down, right? Not necessarily talk her down. Sean doesn't like to be corrected. Let's just put it as it is, right? So after the girls had sat down, I really don't know why Nali always has to bring up old topics. Nali felt like that was the right time for her to bring up what happened between Stunner and Tommy, which was the previous day rather. And after everybody aired their opinion, London went in on Sean about lateness, not really giving into or not really participating in the activities, delaying them, wasting the rest of the girls' time. And it was at that point, immediately she even started talking, I was like, oh my god, my baby girl, you have just made the wrongest mistake by even thinking you can talk to Sean about what she's doing wrong and right. So when she started like going in on, Sean being always being late, and how Sean delayed the girls the previous day, and because of Sean's lateness, certain girls were unable to do their photo shoot and all of that. Because of that very conversation, Sean immediately decided to go in, and of course a fight broke out, right? Now, so this was exactly where this was the scene that ended the episode. Sean going straight in on Low London.